My name's Guy Kesteven. I've been bitching about bikes as a job for over 27 years. And this is a special unclipped episode involving two bikes the internet is potentially going to get really upset about, which is what your main concern about here. You've literally just said that in the background, Si. He's so nervous, you can see his nips. Now that's made a man self-conscious. What are we looking at, Si? I mean, we can see what we're looking at.
This is
Si from Cotic.
Hi, I'm Si
Hello
from Cotic.
From Si. Does steel bicycles. Yeah. You've seen him on Workshop Wednesday and other Si internet productions. But that's a Cotic.
With a motor.
With a motor, which isn't the first time I've seen one, but it was... I cried a bit inside. I've told you this before, Si. You went alloy with your prototypes?
Yes.
Because you thought it was the only way forward.
Yeah, I did, and then we've learned a lot since
God,
then.
From my point of view, but so big egg. I mean, let's. I think maybe concentrate on this one because it's a little less jarring to start with.
Yes, it is.
I'm allowed to use it. It is jarring.
Yes.
People are going to find that in the world of huge down tubes with batteries inside them.
Yeah, and huge down tubes on regular bikes because they're all gaslighting us into thinking that the e-bikes look like regular bikes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And then you put internal storage on your regular bike and hey presto. So, why external battery?
Because you can't fit it in a steel tube, and we realised that we wanted to do a steel e-bike. Like the other e-bikes were very Cotic, the black ones, and go back, Guy will put a link in the notes, we did a video on it like 3 years ago. The black one prototypes were drop link bikes with a big down tube, big aluminium down tube, and they weren't right, but they were pretty good bikes. Yeah. And then COVID happened and we couldn't make them. And then we started looking into other things, and things like the fact that they were really heavy, which e-bikes tend to be because they were full power bikes, and that actually, even though they were kind of fun and they seemed good, that the weight of them wasn't something we were like that into. And then the whole SL e-bike becomes a thing in the intervening 3 years, and we think, well, we like the idea of e-bikes, we want to do an e-bike, but it'd be good to do something lighter. And we got a lightweight internal battery off our vendor, and we were given an aluminium tube to put it in. And then when I laid it into the CAD and went, wonder how much this weighs, and it weighed 30% more than a Rocket Max down tube, which isn't exactly.
Well, that's a piece of pipe.
That's a piece of pipe.
That's a strong bicycle.
Yes, and that's the same down tube I put on Nico's downhill bike. It's not mucking about.
That's Nico Munali. If you haven't been following Downtime podcast
Frameworks project.
Yeah.
We built them a steel downhill bike. So suddenly we're like, well, the tube's really heavy. The battery's fairly light, but the tube's really heavy, even in aluminium. And if I can put if steel tube's lighter, then maybe if I put the battery on the outside, the whole thing will be lighter. And that begat a whole development project, basically. So so this is a Shimano 418 watt-hour battery.
And you know what, Si? I'm just going to stop here because you're in like super wide vision, so that's not very pro, is it? So let's slim you down a bit. Right, Si's just warned me we're going to go full bike nerd on this. So strap in, folks. Get your lab coats on.
Hold on to your helmets. So, full Shimano system. That is a 418 watt-hour battery. They don't do a battery that small and light for internal use. So anyone using a Shimano system that's got a real light internal battery is buying it from someone else. Now, whilst we did look into that, there are some sort of supplier management issues for a small brand like ourselves.
Yeah.
So actually,
sorry, I was just going to flick over to this. This is the bigger battery.
So that's the
again,
630
Shimano.
watts.
That's 630.
That's 630.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing we found when we started looking into this, not only could we get a little battery off Shimano, it's actually a really good weight. There's only, that battery weighs 2.5 kilos for a 418 watt hour. So it's actually pretty light.
And lighter, and again, lighter than an internal battery before you even put like mounting rails and stuff on it.
Yeah, so this 630 battery, that's 3.3, and the exact same capacity internal version that I've got on the black bikes is 3.7.
Yeah.
So you've got like 400 grams, like nearly a pound in old money.
Yeah.
Just by using the external battery.
Yeah.
And then when we started looking at it, yeah, the down tube is beefier than a Rocket Max down tube, because with the weight of the motor and the weight of the battery, you do need a bit more stiffness. Because I did do a steel geometry hack with an external battery, so-called the rhubarb and custard bike.
Yeah.
Had the battery hanging off the down tube, and it was all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But that was a bit too flexy, so we have put some stiffness back in to manage the mass of those items, but not too much.
Yeah.
Because the key thing is that when you get a great big, well, it's not even a tube, it's a channel. They're not very efficient, and they're gutter, and they're extremely.
If you put a gutter on, your ride quality goes down the drain. Some might say, "Hooray!"
So we wanted something that maybe that we thought we could maybe make ride a bit more like a Cotic and have that sort of slightly more kind of characteristic kind of vibe of the bike,
flux and flow, which you're famous for,
that kind of thing. And then obviously once you've got the external batteries on there, it takes like 5 seconds to take the battery off or change it,
or take it inside to charge it, or if there's 5 of you staying in a flat in Leger, you don't know, I'll have to drag your bikes in there.
Exactly. It's mechanically simpler because the on button and the charger are on the battery.
Yeah.
There's no remote sockets or buttons.
So that cuts down the wiring that's going to get power washed to death.
Yeah, all of that. Yeah, and actually, again, washing it.
Take it off. Well, that's what they always say. You should take the battery out when you clean it out. Who the hell does that? Drop your motor out? That's what most people have issues, is when they drop the motor out and find they've crimped the cables, and they were hanging on until they moved the motor.
Exactly. So basically we realised that with some, there was something in doing it in a much more Cotic kind of way, which should actually have performance benefits as well as just being, because what I wanted it to be authentic, and I wanted it to be mechanically honest,
but not just for the sake.
Not for the sake of it. That's like, if we'd have built if I'd have built a massive steel down tube to put an internal battery in, it would have been horrible. Yeah. Horrible. I cannot state how horrible it would be. And
a space frame was right out. I think we discussed that, and you worked out the amount of welds involved.
Oh no,
I still
really want to do that.
Yeah, well,
but like a Ducati style trellis frame.
When you come into these meetings in a helicopter,
when I've got my own pet welder who I'll pay overtime to do the 50 welds on the frame or whatever it is. But yeah, so basically we could do something which would be much more of a Cotic kind of vibe. And then the other thing that came into it was the motor yoke is a fully Cotic designed thing. This is laser cut and fabricated motor yoke, completely bespoke to Cotic. Compared to the off-the-shelf steel cast things that everyone else uses, that saves nearly a kilo.
That's insane.
So anyone who, if there is anyone else building steel e-bikes, we're a kilo ahead of them straight off the bat if they haven't done their own thing. And even compared to the aluminium ones, it's a chunk lighter. Yeah. So suddenly we're in this situation where we had easy access to the battery, full modularity, a lighter battery, a lighter frame. It's steel, so we can make it in the UK. And it looks like a Cotic. And it looks like a Cotic. It looks like a
Cotic, and hopefully it rides like a Cotic.
And so all of these things kind of gain momentum into the fact that it was, this was the bike we were going to make. And so, that's the e-bike side of it. In terms of the rear end, although you've not seen a Rockalink Cotic since...
Well, I have.
Well, a long time ago.
The public hasn't.
No.
Because this was Hemlock, wasn't it?
Yeah, Hemlock was, that was it.
Rockered.
But although they'll be slightly different for production, these these swing arms are actually off our first prototypes. They're just refinished. So,
Right.
so actually, the kinematics and the kinematics and the anti-squat and all of that kind of stuff has been proven out over the last like 3 years. We've been riding them. All of the pivots and bearings. Those two are slightly different, but the main big bearings are the same size and same bearings and same axles as we've used in Cotics for 6-7 years now.
Yeah.
So spares, like looking after our customers, because
Yeah.
you know, once you buy a Cotic, you know, you're in the family. We look after you. You don't.
Yeah.
We don't. You know, we
It's
want
family.
this to be.
It's family. It's Cotic family. Yeah. But you've gone to a trunnion mount as well.
Yeah.
So you've got extra sensitivity.
Yes.
On the top of that cane creek there.
But even here, we've done our own thing a little bit, because the thing, although trunnion mounts is for the packaging, particularly on the smaller size frames, they've got a little bit of a rep in terms of solidly bolting the shocks in.
Yeah.
And if the frame isn't exactly straight, things can get a bit worn out.
Yeah.
So this isn't a standard trunnion mounting. There's a needle roller bearing in there, and that's a bespoke bolt, and basically the shock can float in the bearing.
Okay. Yeah.
So even with the frame flex, or even just with the brilliance of the guys at Fiveland, even like accounting for like just a little bit of frame alignment and tolerance,
it's essentially a floating shock mount.
It's a floating shock mount.
Yeah.
So that's
really smart.
So everything we've done about this bike is about, as far as we can do it, durability and longevity.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing most people are worried about with e-bikes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what I'm most worried about with e-bikes. And these bikes are basically a motorised jet, is that right? A jet with an afterburner.
Yeah, kind of. So they're dedicated mullet.
Yeah.
Because that was another thing we found with the e-bike testing. Even though the black bikes were originally 29, we did test them, and even though the lighter battery definitely gives the bike a more natural ride vibe, you are managing some weight in the middle of the bike, and that accelerated turning that you get from a mullet, you really feel on an e-bike, because it just helps get the bike leant over. It uses the mass to the advantage instead of you feeling like you're fighting against it. So it's dedicated mullet. You can't do 29, but that's because it works best for an e-bike.
Yeah.
It's going to have proportional chain stays and proportional seat tube angle. They're slightly longer on the bigger sizes, because again, e-bike, you're powering up steep climbs.
Yeah,
so
you're getting up stuff that you probably wouldn't normal.
Seat angle to keep you pitched forward.
Yeah.
It's got more anti-squat than a regular Cotic, again, because of the punch of the bike and what have you. So basically, it's 150 rear, it's 150 with a 150 fork at the front like that. It's got the same head angle as a jet, and broadly the same rider fit.
Yeah.
It's a little bit lower bottom bracket because we can use Diddy 160 cranks on an e-bike. And like I say, it's that very slightly longer back end. And even though it looks different, the actual progression rate of the shock is quite drop link.
Yeah.
This is just...
It's just a similar system rotated, essentially.
So you've just joined the dots in a slightly different way, but it makes the same shape graph, effectively. That's the broad stroke of the bike. It's completely modular as far as we can make it. So you can put 4 18 watt hour battery, 500 watt hour battery, 6 30 watt hour battery.
Yeah.
You can swap them in and out. You can put a 160 fork on it if you want. So you can build it up. Sam's got his built up with Zebs. You can see mine's got a coil shock on it.
Yeah.
So you could build it up as a big bomber, or you can build it up as a bit of like a sort
all day player,
and like a sort of bit more that'll dance through things a little bit more.
Right.
That's the idea. There you go.
Right, let's get dancing then.
All right then.
Cheers, Si. Right, these are never short, are they?
No.
Right, here's a statement for you, Si. If I was going to pick an e-bike to play on, to learn how to e-bike effectively, I'd have this one.
Nice, thank you.
I really would. Because it's got everything I loved about Cotics.
It's got a vibe to it, hasn't it?
It's got character and identity, and it's just got that classic, it wants to be ridden.
Yeah.
It really wants to be ridden and played on, and it's not just some big monster truck. No. I can get proper loose on this. Yeah, I should have had the rear wheel cam on that. That was a stem ride out, but you know, but it's still got that stability and grip to save me.
Yeah.
But I'm hopping and popping around it all over the place. It just doesn't feel synthetic.
No.
It feels natural.
Yeah. You run it around like a more normal bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to buy into that. Oh, it feels just like a normal e-bike. It doesn't. But this is very close.
Yeah. It minimises the downsides.
Yeah, it minimises the down tube as well.
It minimises the down tube as well.
We minimise the Cotic. We minimise the down tube to minimise the downsides. Yeah. There you go. That's it. Ooh, bosh.